Hello, hello, hello. Well, welcome to the good show. We'll say it's a good show. Good.
We had
Well,
a
we're
we had a
gonna
couple
say
of
that.
false starts here this
Oh
morning.
my goodness. Hello, everybody. It's good to see you. Hopefully, you haven't bailed on us yet.
Oh,
We had to, of course, we're using StreamYard, which is a new platform for
yep.
us, and just some growing pains with it, trying to figure out so basically, when you go live on something, it asks you all the platforms. So you've already put all of them in that you want to go live
Mm,
on, and you're like, yes, but you have to click them each time. It's just clicking them, right? You have to click them each time. I mean, it takes a
dang it.
second, but if you don't
Right.
click them and then you go live, it just ends up recording,
It
not
just
going
records.
live.
Yeah.
So of
We'll
course,
get it together, we
Gabby and
promise.
I are sitting here like 3 different recordings, and be like, "Where is it? What is going on? I don't think this is working." Oh my goodness! And then yesterday is good. Hey James, thank you for being here, James.
Oh goodness.
Yesterday we had a whole Gabby and I had a whole conversation about this.
Yeah.
There was a nor'easter come through, and I'm on the coast in southeastern Virginia, so it was a lot of flood. There was flooding, a lot of wind, a
Mm,
lot of rain, so we lost power. Kids were home. Fortunately, giving you all the cliff notes. Fortunately, they know the house didn't flood, so that was a
well,
good
that's
thing.
good. Yeah.
Yes, so but we are back today, and very excited to be with you. I was and earlier on this, I was
Man.
like, "Happy Monday!" Guy was like, "It's Tuesday," and I was like, "It is Tuesday.
Oh dear.
It is Tuesday.
Oh
It is the
dear.
14th of October. We are almost halfway through
It's crazy.
October,
It's
which is wild.
crazy.
Well,
Ugh.
anyways, hi
Mm.
Gabby.
Hi.
Dylan, it was wonderful having to have a session with you as well, and I'm very excited. And then he said you had a great class last night with Gabby.
Yeah,
So that was
I got to
awesome.
be hear Dylan's voice for the first time. It was great.
Yay! And listen, today, I was I was going over, I had I don't know if you guys ever create lists of things. And sometimes I feel like we have just moments where, or let me say that. So do you ever feel, Gabby, like you are sometimes in a fishbowl, and like you're just going around in circles? You see everything outside that you need to do and get to, but
Mhm.
you're just going around in circles while looking at everything outside the fishbowl. Like, I feel like that's me a lot of times, and it's easy to get like tunnel vision
Yeah.
and not be able to step back effectively and look at the overall picture.
You
And
know, yeah, I mean, I think people with ADHD struggle with this, right? I think
mm,
business owners in general struggle with this. Um there's a bit of like paralysis, right? That can happen. Yeah, I think we all go through it. I joke and I go, my lists have lists. So sometimes I'm like, I don't know what to do first.
oh no, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think so I think and then what happens is procrastination
Mm,
becomes
yeah.
just a normal thing. But I think I was always trying to dissect, why do we procrastinate in our business, or why do things go undone?
Mm,
Is there a secret that other people who get a whole ton of stuff done, and the rest of us don't get a ton of stuff done, or we don't feel like we get a ton of stuff done? Is there some sort of secret somewhere? And I always ask myself that, because sometimes I'll go through weeks at a time where I feel like my mind has been so focused on one thing
mm,
that everything else has just gone to the crap show.
yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and I think that I know for me, one thing that has always been a challenge, or it's a work in progress still,
Mm,
is structure and organization. I think structure and organization, probably for any business owner and us, it's massive, and you
yeah.
always think people. Do you notice people? Maybe it's because we're creatives too. It doesn't mean if you're creative, you're not structured and organized. But I always find, like, a lot of my creativity comes from chaos, and that's maybe that is the ADHD, maybe that is something that we're just, it's like
Mhm.
squirrel, like something's
Mhm.
going on. But I always like people who are organized and structured, they always stand out to me. You know what I mean? They're always like, you know what I mean? Or that, and like I'm always like, ooh, that, that's a person that knows what's going on. Now, I notice about them, they're not necessarily always the idea people, right? They're not usually the
Yeah.
idea people. They're usually they're people that always have that seem to have their crap in line. Like
Mhm.
they know what's going on. But again, they're not the idea people. They're the people who take what's there and make it organized and structured.
Yeah.
And I know from a business standpoint, I think one of our challenges as business owners / voice actors, right, is wearing those hats, both of them, right? You know what I mean?
Oh, I do.
And,
Oh, I do.
and having to wear both of them. And then how do you wear both of them? Because
Yeah.
most likely we're not. And then on top of that, we also have to wear the hat of the person who has to do all the work.
I can tell you there's a couple things that always surprise me. One is people who have a clean desk. How? How? I don't
Oh my
understand.
gosh, that's so funny. I'm looking at my desk and like, yeah, I
Right,
hear you.
right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't understand. Sometimes I see pictures of people in their work environment, and I'm like, "There's nothing. There's nothing on your desk." Like, you have a pen and a phone holder. Like, how? How does that I
Right.
could clean my desk right now. By tomorrow, it'll look like the chaos factory again. I don't understand that. But I also think that's just it. Some of us work better in chaos. Some of us work, and I'm weird because on one hand, if things have become too chaotic, oh, I can't focus, right? And then I'm like, we got to deal with the chaos. I've got to reduce the chaos. But then there's this margin that's acceptable where if it's my own chaos and I understand it and I know where everything is, like
Hmm.
I'm fine. I can function in that, no problem.
Oh
It's
yeah.
very strange. It's
Oh, it
very
is.
weird.
It is. I had seen, I'm trying to think of where it was or whatever, but basically, oh yeah, yeah. So it was the E-Myth Revisited. Have you ever read
Mm,
that book,
no.
Gabby? Well, anyways, it's a amazing book written by Michael Gerber, and the book is basically about taking any sort of business that you have and turning it into this idea of a franchise model,
Mm,
but not necessarily for the purposes of franchising a business, more for the purposes of building systems within a
the
business,
efficiency.
right?
Yeah.
Efficiency, right? Of that model. And it goes into that saying of what I just said, that we all as business owners wear three hats, right? We wear the first hat is that hat of an entrepreneur. Like it was that hat that you had on that day where you were just sitting on your couch or wherever. It's like, what if I could be a voice actor? What if I could, voice audiobooks? What if I could be do commercials? I'm
Mm,
better than that person. Like
mm.
that spark of that moment where you had that vision, that what if vision, right? And it was that entrepreneur.
Well, it reminds me of like, hearing you talk about that franchise model, the Koch brothers and the story of, the McDonald's and the movie with Michael Keaton,
Mm,
where that was what he was obsessed with, right? Like,
mhm,
how do we make it more efficient? How do we take time off? How do we make it faster? It's fascinating to watch
mhm.
because you realize how it really did revolutionize an industry.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, and I think so there's that first hat is your the entrepreneur mindset. The second hat is the manager mindset. So this is the mindset, the hat that you wear, the person who takes the ideas of the entrepreneur and organizes them, structures them, puts together the
Mm,
schedule for the day. How are we going to take all of this idea you came up to and actually make it a reality, right? How are we going to actually bring it from the ethos onto the paper, right? There's that hat, that organization hat.
mhm,
And then the third hat, right, is the technician, right? It's the person who actually does the work. It's the person who is the specialist at the work, and they're the ones who are like, as a voice actor, you're the one who's doing the voiceover. You're the one who's doing the editing and the
Right.
mastering, right?
Right.
You're the worker, right?
Mm-hmm.
The person who works. So
Right.
there's this idea of these three hats that we wear in business, but there is very few, if any, people that are equally all three hats. It's typically we all default to one where we are the majority, and the other two are usually not the majority. So if
Hmm.
you think of yourself, which one would you say, you know what I mean, is more of you, Gabby? So are you more like, so meaning like at any given day, do you think you spend more time ideas popping into your head?
Mm.
You think you spend more time, you know what I mean, trying to organize, structure, go through the constantly working on processes, doing the matter, or
Mm-hmm.
do you spend more time, bothered by those other two hats because you got a lot of work to do and you just do the work?
Yeah.
Which one do you think you default to, or the one that you would love that pops in your mind the
Oh,
most?
wow. I'd say it's the worker bee. Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I like because I like the doing. The doing makes me feel productive, right? The
Oh yeah.
doing makes me feel purposeful. The other stuff is just like, oh, I have to do this. You know,
Well, I've
I
known you for a while, and I would say that you also have a very strong. Well, I think you actually have. You're pretty well. I think you're pretty well rounded.
mean, I
But
try, but
I would say that, like, knowing you, you are definitely, you have you wear that entrepreneur mind a hat a lot too, because you're always
oh,
coming up. You're
sure.
always thinking of ideas,
Ideas. Yeah.
right? Of
Yeah.
ways we can do something, kind of like me. We
Yeah.
both think of ideas, like in my, like I'm sitting here, this morning again. I'm like, ooh, we were really, because we did this webinar with Bonnie. That I did this webinar with Bonnie this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about audio dramas, and I was talking with Bonnie. Hey, Bonnie, we should do an audio drama. Oh, it's exciting. We should do an audio drama, right? We've talked about it. Like, you're always some ideas, the
Oh,
possibilities
for
of what if
sure.
scenarios, right? And then I would say I'm the worker bee as well. I like to, I will work, and I will would you like bury your head, and everyone else bothers you because you just have work to do, right? And like people, and sometimes it can even be, customers would love them, but it's, hey, listen, I got work to do. Can you leave me alone? All right.
One of my producers actually he hasn't done it in a while, but he used to. He had a folded up piece of paper, like a little like a desk plaque, and he would fold if he was editing, and it literally said F off, I'm editing, and he would put it in front of, and it was like, so everybody who went was like, oh, never mind.
Oh, that's
Just
funny.
go away.
That is. So like these all have traits, and the idea of it is that we are never all three of these things equally.
Yeah.
But our business typically needs all three of these things equally in order to be
Mm.
successful.
Ah.
All right. So what happens, is that since we don't, our business ends up being starved of one or two of these areas. For example, maybe you are this person who is a technician. You're a worker bee. You spend your time on, working on your craft, learning, becoming a better actor, doing voiceovers,
Yeah.
editing. You practice, right? And you're super big on organization, like that's important to you. So like your second hat that you wear, it's structure and everything. But the entrepreneur hat, you only donned that hat maybe in the beginning when you had that idea,
Mm.
right? And now your business strongly needs that spark, that
Mm.
idea to come up with a solution to a challenge you're having, which could be, where do I target? How do I get more
Man.
work? How do I begin, a new phase to bring all this technical work I've been doing, all of this organization I've seen, so maybe you're missing that hat, or maybe you have a hat where you can't stop coming up with ideas. You're the idea gal. Everything you do is you've got these million ideas. You got books upon books of ideas. You live ideas. You breathe ideas. You get ideas over sipping coffee. All right. And, and you love to work. You love to work. You love to put your head down and work. However, once you start working, you have all these ideas, right? Your desk is a mess.
Yeah.
Stuff is everywhere. There's no organization, and you get going on one thing, and then it falls apart on you because
Right.
you're not organized, and you got to start another thing, and and then you have 50 million things going on, which says like my life.
For
It's
sure.
like,
I
you know,
mean,
you're sorely missing that hat being worn of that organizational structure person who that's how their brain is wired, that
mhm.
everything has to be organized in a process in order for your idea to become a reality on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
You know, or you know, you are that person who is you know, you have these ideas, you structure them, but man, you just want to go and plop your butt down and watch TV. You are not that technician person. That's just not your jam. You don't really want to spend hours recording, and you don't really want to do that, but you love the idea and you've got all
Mhm.
sorts of ideas for shows. You even put together spreadsheets of how it's going to work and who can does
Mhm.
what. Like, so you can see where 99 ideas, but nothing gets done. Yeah, you can see where wearing all three of these hats on an equal basis becomes near impossible. And most people, I've never met one
That
who wears
word
all three of them.
equal is, like, stressing me out because, right, all I'm thinking of is the component that I
Right,
keep, right,
right, and we
procrastinating
all
on or
know it. Like, if you've
postponing,
been
and I'm like,
around, you know it.
"Ah!"
You
You
know it.
know?
So, what is the answer then, Anthony, to all of this? So
Mm.
the point is, and the reason why I brought up in this book, right, is the point to the book is that we know thyself, which means building systems,
Mm.
right, to wear those hats when we don't wear them equally is the answer to this, right? To know that if, for example, I know that I need time to brainstorm, right? Then knowing like I'm not
Mm.
gonna just randomly come up one day while I'm working and my head's down and nose grind and be like pop up and be like, it's idea time. That's just not gonna it's just
Like
not
a
gonna
gopher out of the
not gonna it's
ground.
just not randomly gonna happen, right? So what does that mean? That means we have to put something in place where we literally schedule ourselves
Mhm.
consistently to have 30 minutes a week
Yeah. Yeah.
where you set aside time, you grab a cup of coffee, go to another room, I don't know, go take a walk and say, this is where I've got, so like, for example, I've got to figure out there's an issue with my audio and it keeps getting some crackling and I can't figure out how am I going to solve the solution? Where am I going to come up with some ideas? What are some ideas? Right?
Yeah.
Maybe some ideas are, you know, maybe I need to reach out to somebody. Maybe I need to look for a coach. Maybe I need to get some new chords. I know this seems like, well, that doesn't seem very entrepreneur, but the idea is that you have to give your like those are ideas and thoughts to solutions. The entrepreneur needs to come up with those. The technician doesn't. The technician takes what you tell it to do and just does it.
It's also it's a philosophical discussion, right?
Mm,
It's like, I don't know if the quote was Buddhist, I don't know where it came from, but it reminds me of nothing worth doing was ever not imagined first,
mm,
right? Or
mm,
born of the dream. It's
mm-hmm.
that kind of and it's so true, but you're right. It's organizing. So I think we should spend some time maybe tomorrow
Mm-hmm.
talking about systems and
Mm,
talking about how we can implement some of this stuff because there are tools. There are tools. We
mm-hmm.
all have them. We all use them. And I think the more voice actors share this discussion,
Yes.
the better we all get.
Oh yeah.
And it's important. It really is. You're
And
right.
here's something else is I want to talk about too about this is that you mentioned you know, Ray Kroc and you
Mm,
know the McDonald brothers or those
mhm,
guys or
mhm.
whatever,
Yep.
and interestingly enough, right, with Ray Kroc, and have you seen the movie as well?
Mhm.
What's interesting is that, you know, he bought the system, so the brothers had come up with that system, right? And of course, he wanted to expand it, you know, and they worked together for a little while,
Mm,
but they really struggled. So I find this really interesting. They really struggled for a long time because the business that he was trying to grow was making pennies, right, on the dollar for what they did until
right.
he realized that there was another aspect, in this case, real estate,
Mhm.
right? Which, if you look at McDonald's,
Oh
is
my god.
still, you know, I think it, last time I checked, it was, well, the Queen, she's never done, so it's the King now, right? But you know, besides the King of England, I think McDonald's owns some of the, you know, richest real estate in the
They
world.
have, yeah, they have the largest real estate portfolio in the globe.
Yeah, I mean, it's nuts, right?
Unheard of.
And so you think about that and how that changed the whole business completely, even though the business is still making hamburgers and that system they have, right? But and it just even makes me
Mhm.
think of our business. Sometimes, if you look, because what we're doing now, I know that in the movie, he got, that was that guy who came and gave them idea and all that stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the point I'm trying to make to you is that's that entrepreneur mindset as well.
Mhm.
Like when I created Academy Voices, part of it too is, how can I venture out besides just me doing it all by myself?
Oh, yeah.
And how can we as a group work
Look
together?
at us. Look at us sitting here, right? Two
Mhm,
people, same industry,
mhm,
same general viewpoint on business,
mhm.
combining forces to say, how can we operate independently, but also together to make
Right.
more?
Right.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I won't go too that's about how much Gabby and I talk about stuff, but you remember that night we had this wonderful brainstorming session, and I feel like we were on to something. You remember that we were talking
Yeah.
about
Yeah. Yeah.
builds
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
stuff like that, and
Mhm.
trying to figure out, because we're like, there's something here, not
Mhm.
that we're missing, but there's something
Yeah.
more that we all could be doing together as a group. There's something, because we're all churning we're all like those ducks, right? We all look great on top of the
Ugh,
water, but our feet are churning a million miles a minute
yeah.
underwater trying to do stuff, but we're all doing it independently. And we're all trying to
Right.
do the same thing.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense to combine our efforts. But anyways,
A
so yeah, I
collective.
think
Yeah.
it's really cool to talk about this the rest of the week. This is something that I love and fascinates me, and I'm still horrible at. I want to be better at it. But I think this is, from a business standpoint, I think that's one of the biggest challenges we all face as voice actors, is actually being able to run a business
Yeah.
effectively.
Yeah.
And this is something that I'm passionate about, and I know you're passionate about, Gabby. So yeah, so I think we can chat about that
Yeah.
this
For
week.
sure.
Thank you guys so much for staying with us. You never know
Thanks
where
for
the
hanging in there.
conversation is going to go.
No.
It's a great book, by the way. There's also some other
What was
books.
the author again?
Michael Gerber.
Okay.
Michael Gerber, and his story is fascinating. He was like going nowhere in life, and then started just studying all these businesses and went on this crazy finding his self
Oh, wow.
tour, like just this all this stuff, and then he became this guy who really focused on big companies and how they were just taking systems, and it changed everything.
Hmm.
And there's another book called Built to Sell. It's a fantastic book, and it was about a company, or is about a small business who did logos.
Mm.
And the guy wanted to sell his business and retire, but when he went to sell it and he had a mentor, the guy's, there's nothing here to sell, because everything you have is relying upon you doing it, as well as the customer. You're relying solely on specific customers that are so needy and need so much from you that
Oh.
there was nothing for you to sell. Like, no one would buy it. And if they did, you'd have to stay on and run the thing anyways.
Oh,
So it was
interesting.
really fascinating how he ended up turning it into a sellable business by using systems
Hmm.
to do it. And I liked that book because most books, when you talk about growing your business, they're about something that is not that's not a service based business, kind of like what
Right.
we do. So I thought the logo thing was very close to something we do, because you're doing it individually for clients, you know what I mean? Like individual clients.
Yeah.
So it's really fascinating. So anyways, we talk a lot about that
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
I dig
Um,
it.
all right.
Cool. Cool. All
Well,
right.
thank you guys for staying with us and watching us today. We
We'll be
love you
back tomorrow.
bunches. As always, make sure you check out Avio's Journey Academy. We've got some incredible things going on right now. It's
Yes.
Halloween, so this month, and lots and lots and lots of education and stuff to help you grow your voiceover business and all these
Mm-hmm.
things we're talking about. So check this out at viosjourney.com, and we will talk to you tomorrow. All right. Bye,
Bye,
everybody.
guys.
Goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye.